Cheers, everyone. Dave Brown here with the New Populist. Thank you again for joining me. I have a very interesting show for you today that will be centered around the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, who was just recently arrested, and it looks like he will be jailed for 3 years. And upon his arrest, he released a video saying that he was innocent, that he knew his jailing was imminent, and that he encouraged the people of Pakistan to peacefully protest and fight for their freedoms. Now, that line of about peacefully protesting reminds me of what Donald Trump said on January 6th, where he encouraged his supporters to peacefully march to the Capitol and have their voices heard. And of course, we know what happened afterwards. There was the riot there with some level of involvement by the FBI. And recently, Jack Smith, the special counsel, indicted Trump in Washington, D.C. for the January 6th and interfering in the electoral process and defrauding the U.S. government. So we have this Imran Khan arrest and jailing. We have the indictments against Donald Trump. And then I look over in Africa and I see the coup in Niger, where the people in Africa and Niger are saying, we don't want the West, the United States and France interfering in our business. And there were, in these crowds of people in Niger who were in support of this coup, there were some Russian flags. The Wagner boss, Prigozhin, had comments saying that, yes, we were helping helping Niger fight back against the colonialist. And, Africa generally seems to be this battleground between the West and the East, Russia, China, and the United States, fighting for influence and control of the resources of Africa. But looking at these three issues, the coup, Imran Khan, Trump, what seems to tie everything together is always, geopolitics. That seems to be the greatest factor in what drives events. And let me just say, too, I'm not Pakistani. I don't have great knowledge of the internal workings of Pakistan. And so I don't want to sit here and say that what's happening to Imran Khan is fair or unfair. I'm looking at it from the perspective of an American who's looking at our actions and going, did we have an influence, or were we involved in some way in the internal workings of Pakistan, what happened there? That's what concerns me, and I got some very interesting video that suggests that the United States just may have been involved in the ousting of Imran Khan. So stick with me. I'll get there toward the end, and when you hear these video clips, you'll go, oh my gosh, are you serious? So it's very, very interesting. Now, let's start first by introducing Imran Khan. He was Prime Minister of Pakistan from 2018 to April of 2022. Later in 2022, after his ouster, he was the victim of an assassination attempt, and here he is laid out where he got shot in the leg. And now here he is in a wheelchair with his legs all bandaged. So obviously the assassination attempt was unsuccessful, and who was responsible? Of course, you never know. Everybody says, oh, this was just people were responsible, and it was a lone gunman theory, whatever. We don't know. But he was shot, and he did survive. But clearly, he is a target in Pakistan from a certain group of people who do not like him. So here's the news story. Pakistan's Imran Khan sentenced to 3 years in prison. And it is over. Again, this is what's reported. He apparently received gifts, watches, cufflinks, earrings. I think he got a watch from the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And he allegedly pawned them off and made a bunch of money. And didn't tell or report it properly to the Pakistani government, which is illegal, and that's why he was arrested and jailed. So, again, Are these legit charges? Perhaps. I don't know. I'm not too concerned with them because there are other things that I think are far more interesting, far more important, and are a much better indicator of what drives decision making. You can be corrupt as hell, but if you are doing the bidding of the establishment, the people in power, you can get away with a lot. Look at Joe Biden. I mean, the guy is so corrupt. Why is he in power? Because he does what the people behind the scenes in the United States who drive this country's policy want. And as long as you do that, you can get away with murder. If you don't do that, the smallest infraction, boom, they'll get you. Look at Trump. So you can be corrupt and get away with it as long as you're doing what you're told. If you don't, then boom, they come and get you. So these were the charges. Are they legit? I don't know, but I'm not too concerned with that. I'm more concerned with this. So after the Russian invasion, this is February 2022. Imran Khan goes to Moscow as Pakistan romances Russia. February 23rd, 2022, on Wednesday, Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan will be the first foreign leader to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin after Russian troops entered the separatist regions of eastern Ukraine amid the escalating crisis between Russia and the West. Khan's visit to Moscow, the first by a Pakistani prime minister in 23 years, has been in the works for a while, but by going ahead as planned, it could be seen as an implicit Pakistani endorsement of the Russian leader's actions. And then later in March, we have this opinion piece from the Washington Post. Pakistan's prime minister couldn't have picked a worse time to make friends with Vladimir Putin. So obviously, if you're paying attention, you know at this time last year, I mean, Russia was enemy number one. They still are, but this is when people were, piling on sanctions, condemning Russia, condemning Putin. And here you have Imran Khan going to Moscow and meeting with Vladimir Putin. He's drawing for himself a lot of negative attention for doing this. And so later in the month, in March, he is under threat by his own government who want to have a vote to remove him from power. And what does he say? Well, let me read the title here. Why is Khan blaming the West for his downfall? The premier has lost support in parliament after key coalition partners decided to support the opposition's no confidence vote. Instead of stepping down, Khan is accusing a foreign power, the United States, of plotting his ouster. So why is there a vote of no confidence against the prime minister? Khan, the 69-year-old former captain of Pakistan's cricket team, said a foreign-funded conspiracy was behind the attempt to oust him. Analysts have suggested that he has fallen out with the country's powerful military, something both he and the military deny. The prime minister's increasingly anti-Western rhetoric and his recent trip to Moscow following Russia's invasion of Ukraine may have some elites worried about how this direction could affect the country's economy and security. Accusations of corruption have also plagued the government, as soaring inflation and unemployment are souring public sentiment. Both Khan and the opposition have rallied thousands of their respective supporters to pressure the other side. Khan alleges foreign interference amid no confidence vote. Khan supporters are claiming that the U.S. is trying to destabilize the government. The U.S. State Department has denied these reports and said there is no truth to these allegations. And of course, what is the U.S. State Department going to say? Oh yeah, they're true. We're definitely working to destabilize your government. So of course we would say that. But the fact that the U.S. State Department had to say it out loud that they weren't doing it is meaningful. Analysts say Khan is trying to turn the public against the opposition by accusing the West. Bringing foreign policy into the public domain could be disastrous. The government's position on this matter is damaging for Pakistan. Abdul Basit, former Pakistani High Commissioner to India, and former ambassador to Germany, told DW. So here we have Imran Khan saying the United States and the West are responsible for this effort to oust me. And then later, April 10th here, Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan ousted as country's leader following a vote of no confidence. So, boom, Imran Khan is out of here. No confidence. Now, here is where it gets very interesting. He had these accusations that the United States was involved in his ouster. Now, in June of 2023, Imran Khan gives a long hour interview that appears on the Atlantic Council. And the Atlantic Council is a very powerful think tank here in the United States that deals with international affairs and foreign policy. And I got a 3-minute clip here where Imran Khan talks about how he was ousted and who was involved. And this is incredibly, incredibly interesting. Here is the clip.
Well, let's start with that. Let's start with the big picture and go to let's time travel back to April 2021 when all of this started, and begin with the so-called American connection with your ouster. A lot of people are interested, at least in this neck of the woods, about whether it was short-sighted of you to blame the US, target the Americans after your ouster, considering how you and your party are now hoping for their support. The State Department has just recently called you a private citizen and said that it's not going to comment on your status. I see you smiling, interestingly, but do you think it was short-sighted to really tick off the Americans, considering where you stand now regarding their support?
Well, let's just break it up. First of all, the facts. What happened? I get a cipher. Cipher is this coded message from my ambassador in Washington. He sends me this coded message. And now you tell me, how should I have responded? I mean, anyone, if they had got a message like that, Prime Minister of a country gets a message, an official meeting taking place between the Undersecretary of State, US, and the Pakistan ambassador in Washington. And the message reads, here's the Prime Minister reading the message, that unless the Prime Minister Imran Khan is removed in a vote of no confidence, there'll be consequences for Pakistan. There were other things in the cipher, but I mean, imagine a Prime Minister of a country, elected Prime Minister of a country, reads this message that an American official is telling my ambassador that Pakistan should get rid of me. Otherwise, there'll be consequences.
Now, let me stop right here. He mentions the American Undersecretary of State having a meeting with the Pakistani ambassador in Washington, where this undersecretary tells him if Imran Khan is not removed, there will be consequences for Pakistan. Now, who was the Undersecretary of State back in 2022? Who was that? And I'm about to show you this person. I've mentioned this person a million times. This person's name is starting to show up everywhere because people are becoming aware of this person. Who is the Undersecretary of State? It is, oops, not that person. This person, Victoria Nuland, the Undersecretary of State, having a meeting, according to Imran Khan, with the Pakistani ambassador saying, if you don't get rid of this guy, you're in trouble, Pakistan. There will be consequences. What are the chances that it involves Victoria Nuland, who has been the person in the State Department in charge of Ukraine policy since 2013? She was on the ground in Kiev, handing out bread. She was queuing about the fact that Nord Stream was blowing up. She was talking to the Senate about the Ukraine biolabs. She is the point person on Ukraine, and it was her that was talking to the Pakistani ambassador, telling him that Imran Khan, he needed to go. What are the chances? Small, again, my point I made earlier in the video, everything seems to boil back to geopolitics, to, the powers of the world fighting. And you go against the military-industrial complex. You go against these wars that are being fought and supported by NATO in the West. You're in trouble. And I always like to give a reminder of who other connections that Victoria Nuland has. Victoria Nuland is married to, well, first of all, she was the person that was caught on tape saying F the EU in that phone call. And she is married to Robert Kagan, who was the co-founder of the Project for a New North American Century. They co-founded with Bill Kristol. He is in large part responsible for the Iraq War and the planning for the Iraq War. So he's a neocon extraordinaire. He's the son of Donald Kagan. And his brother, Frederick Kagan, is married to Kimberly Kagan, this lady here, who is the founder of the Institute for the Study of War. That is a go-to think tank for all the information about the war in Ukraine. And that think tank is funded by, you guessed it, defense contractors. So Victoria Nuland, Robert Kagan, Frederick Kagan, Kimberly Kagan, these are neoconservatives who have been involved in wars in the United States going back 20 years. These people, I guess in my opinion, are essentially war criminals. Because of these people, there have been millions of people dead. Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, now Ukraine. Victoria Nuland, she also worked for Dick Cheney. She was a foreign policy advisor. She was in the State Department under Obama. She left under Trump and then came back under Biden. So when we talk about the deep state and people, bringing continuity to the government's policy, this is how it's done. A person like her who goes back to Cheney, works for all the different administrations, forwarding the policy of the deep state, which for the last 20 years has been to antagonize Russia, arm Ukraine, and pick a fight there, which we now have. So you have an Imran Khan saying Victoria Nuland was in fact the person who was telling the Pakistani ambassador that he needed to be thrown out of office. Let me go back to the other slide. Oh. And so, again, I don't know if his jailing is legitimate. It may well be. Maybe you're from Pakistan and you might say, well, Dave, maybe that's all true, but this guy was this bad, he deserved to go to jail. That's fine. I'm not talking off that point. But again, as an American, why is why this person from America, the Undersecretary of State, threatening the Pakistani ambassador, telling them to remove a democratically elected person? What wasn't it we always say in the United States here? Democracy is important. We shouldn't interfere in the affairs of others. Ukraine, for example, is a democracy, and how dare Russia interfere in Ukraine's business? When we, the United States, interfere with everybody's business, and then we have the nerve to criticize another country for being concerned about the behavior of a country on its border that's filled with nationalists who want to exterminate ethnic Russians in a certain part of the country. Again, the American hypocrisy is astounding. And I don't want the United States involved in Pakistan's business. I don't want the United States involved in Ukraine's business. I don't want the United States involved in Niger's business. Non-interventionist foreign policy. That's why I've always been a Ron Paul guy. Ron Paul warned us so many times that if we keep interfering in these countries' business, we create more problems. And it's funny, I just saw a video recently from Ron Paul from 9 years ago, 2014, where he's talking to a British interviewer and he says, we spent $5 billion trying to overthrow the Ukrainian government. We're starting problems there. We're stirring up things in Syria. This will not end well if we keep on doing this. He said that 9 years ago. And what happened? Syria has been a mess, and we failed to oust Assad. He's still in power, but now we have hundreds of thousands dead, and now we have this war in Ukraine with probably 500,000 dead at this point, and more to come over the next several months. So if we just listen to Ron Paul and his warnings, we could avoid all this. He's consistently been right. You go online, you watch any video of his from 15, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and everything he said will happen if the United States doesn't change our policies has happened. But that's the problem when your government is captured by neoconservatives, by neoliberals, who are playing this very dangerous game of great power politics, and they're using countries like Ukraine, like Taiwan and Pakistan, all little pawns in the game to protect American power, to protect our status as the world's strongest country. And I've always said in my videos, these next several years will be interesting as Russia, solidifies itself as a country that can sustain itself and maintain its power without the West. As China rises, we are seeing this shift in world politics, and we're in for a big change. And the question is, will the people in D.C., in Washington, D.C., will they allow this change to happen, or will they blow up the entire world trying to prevent it? And that is what concerns me. Well, that's it for now. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.